OpenWiki, an AI agent that writes your docs. Let's dive in. First, let's talk about the problem OpenWiki was built to solve. It's one every developer knows painfully well. Documentation rots. Your code changes daily, but wikis don't keep up. New teammates spend weeks onboarding without good docs, because nobody ever volunteers to update the wiki. And here's the modern twist. AI coding agents need that context just as much as humans do. Stale docs hurt them both. Meet OpenWiki. It's a command-line tool from the LangChain team, powered by a DeepAgents documentation agent. The idea is simple. The agent reads your repository, understands it, and writes a structured wiki for you. Installing it is one command, np install-g OpenWiki. Here's the whole pipeline in one picture. First, OpenWiki collects Git evidence from your repository, the status, recent commits, and what changed since the last run. Next, that context flows into the documentation agent, which runs on the model provider you choose. The agent then explores your code through a sandboxed backend and writes wiki pages, architecture notes, workflows, and source maps. Finally, a snapshot check deck makes sure metadata is only updated when the docs actually changed. OpenWiki actually has two brains. Code mode documents your repository, writing pages into an OpenWiki folder right next to your source. Personal mode is different. It builds a local knowledge brain in your home directory, fed by connectors like Gmail, Notion, Slack, X, Web Search, and Hacker News. It's the same agent underneath, just pointed at different targets. And this is what it looks like. OpenWiki lives entirely in your terminal. The interface is built with Ink, which is literally React rendering to the console. You can chat with it interactively or fire one-shot runs. It has a handy dry run mode, shown here, that prints the execution plan without touching anything. Now let's pop the hood and see how OpenWiki is put together. The architecture is small but nicely layered. The CLI and its command parser own the user experience. A credential onboarding flow saves your provider keys to a .env file in your home directory. The agent runtime resolves which provider to use, collects Git context before the model ever runs, and a SQLite checkpoint database keeps every conversation resumable. Here's my favorite design decision, Guardrails. OpenWiki extends the DeepAgents shell backend with explicit write guards, so the agent is docs only. It literally cannot touch your source code. It sees the repo through virtual paths. Its output is capped, and every command it runs is time-boxed. You get an agent with just enough power to do its job. It's also model agnostic. Out of the box, you can use OpenAI with an API key or even your ChatGPT subscription login, plus Anthropic, OpenRouter Fireworks, Baseton, and NVIDIA NIM. And if you run a gateway that speaks the OpenAI protocol, that works too. All the providers are centralized in one config file, so adding a new one is a small, contained change. And here's a genuinely clever bit. After every run, OpenWiki computes a SHA-256 snapshot of the whole wiki directory. Update metadata is written only if the docs actually changed. That means a no-op run stays a true no-op, which prevents infinite update loops when OpenWiki runs on a schedule in your CI. Theory done. Let's actually install it. I onboarded OpenWiki from a fresh clone and captured every step. Step 1. The toolchain. The repo is a PinNPM project, but PinNPM wasn't installed on this machine. The fix is delightful. Corepack enable PinNPM. Corepack ships with modern Node, and it provisions the exact pinned version from package.sun 1033.2. No global installs, no version drift. Step 2. Install and build. PnPm install with a frozen lock file pulls the dependencies, and this repo has a nice security touch. A 1-week supply chain delay on newly published packages. Then PnPm run build compiles the TypeScript into a dist folder, giving us the actual CLI entry point. Step 3. Make it a real command. A simple symlink from dist/cli.g is into local bin puts OpenWiki on the path. Then we verify. The command resolves, help prints, and the same dry run smoke test that the project's own CI uses passes locally, with no credentials and no network. Here's the entire install, start to finish, just 7 commands. Clone, enable core pack, install with the frozen lock file build, symlink it onto your path, fix the executable bit, and smoke test with a dry run, from 0 to a working OpenWiki command in about 2 minutes. Enough machinery. Let's see it all in action. 3 quick demos: authorizing Gmail, chatting with your new brain from the command line, and browsing the wiki it built. First, authorization. You run OpenWiki off Gmail, and your browser opens a Google consent screen. The scope is read-only. OpenWiki can read mail, never send or delete it. When you approve, the tokens are captured on a local callback and saved to your .env file. And notice what's printed on screen. Only the variable names. The secret values themselves never appear. Here's the full demo loop in one picture. Step 1. Authorize. The auth command trades a browser consent for read-only tokens stored locally. Step 2. Ingest. The connector pulls the last day of mail, and the agent distills it into wiki pages. Step 3. Chat. You ask questions from the command line, and the agent answers from the wiki, not from thin air. And step 4. Browse. A tiny local server turns the same markdown into a website with search and a sidebar. Then the loop repeats. Every new ingest keeps the brain fresh. Second demo. Chatting with your brain. I asked one question from the command line. What bills and commitments do I have this week? And the agent answered straight from the wiki, grounded in evidence. A water bill due today, a coaching call this afternoon, an email delivery failure to investigate, and one optional reminder. Instantly. And yes, the sensitive details are blurred for this demo, but on your machine, it's all yours. And third, browsing. Because the wiki is plain markdown, a tiny Doxify server turns it into a local website. Sidebar, full text search, and cross-link tables with dates, status, and evidence, like this personal logistics. One command starts it, and your brain is at localhost 3054. With everything fixed, we get to the fun part, connecting Gmail and letting OpenWiki build a personal knowledge brain from a day of email. Here's the Gmail connection, end-to-end. Step 1. Reuse an existing Google Auth client. Its ID and secret go into OpenWiki's env file. Step 2. Run OpenWiki off Gmail, which opens a browser consent screen and captures read-only tokens on a local callback. Step 3. The connector config defines what to pull. 1 day of mail, up to 100 messages. Step 4. Register the source instance so ingestion can find it. And step 5. Run the ingest, which pulls the mail and hands it to the agent. Ingestion itself is a 2-stage rocket. Stage 1 is a deterministic pull. Plain API calls fetch your recent mail into raw JSON files. No model involved, fully reproducible. Stage 2 is the LLM synthesis. The agent reads that raw data as untrusted evidence, classifies every message, and routes only the durable, high-signal items into the wiki. Receipts and newsletters don't make the cut. And here's the real run. 100 Gmail messages in seconds. Then the agent noticed the wiki was empty and created 6 canonical pages from scratch. A quick start, source evidence, commitments, personal logistics, themes, and open questions. Every item classified and filed automatically. This is what came out. 6 curated, cross-linked markdown pages. Notice what's not there. No raw email dumps. Just signal, tables with owners, due dates, statuses, and evidence links back to the source. A day of inbox noise turned into a page of things that actually matter. How good is the distillation? From 100 messages, it extracted 3 commitments, including an email delivery failure to investigate and 2 scheduled sessions. It filed personal logistics, like a water bill due the very next day, and a gym membership cancellation. It even spotted a recurring theme, an AI repo tracker that has processed 222 systems. And the open questions page honestly says, none yet. One more use case before we wrap. Everything so far was the personal brain, but OpenWiki's original job is documenting code. So let's point it at a real repository, my personal website. 420 files of articles and pages, and not a single page of documentation. Let's fix that with one command. So here's the run, for real. One command, OpenWiki-update. The agent noticed the repository had no wiki at all, explored the site through the docs-only backend, and created the first pages, documenting the static site structure, the publishing workflow, and the latest featured article. And look at the Git status below. It also appended its block to the Claude file, created an agents file, and dropped in the scheduled workflow, the full recurrent setup, from one command. Here's what code mode does to a repository step by step. Step 1. Get evidence. OpenWiki collects the status, recent commits, and the diff since its last run. Step 2. Explore. The docs agent reads the codebase through the sandboxed, docs-only backend. Step 3. Write. A quick start, architecture notes, and source maps land in an OpenWiki folder inside your repo. And step 4. Recurrence. It wires up an agents file, a Claude file, and a scheduled workflow, so your CI refreshes the wiki as the code evolves. From then on, the documentation keeps itself up to date. And here's the wiki it built, served in a browser. 4 cross-linked pages, generated from scratch, a quick start describing what the repository is, a site architecture page, a publishing workflow explaining how an article becomes the blog hero and gets indexed, and a source map of every main section. It lives inside the repo, renders right on GitHub, and the scheduled workflow keeps it fresh as the site grows. So, 4 takeaways. First, agent-written documentation is practical today, not someday. Second, guardrails are what make agents trustworthy. Docs-only write access is a great pattern. Third, schedule it. A CI workflow keeps the wiki fresh forever, and the snapshot gate keeps it quiet. And fourth, your knowledge stays local, plain markdown on your machine, that you can chat with or browse anytime.
If you like this video, please subscribe and share. Thank you.